And we're just going to observe the field. Now, if it knows that there's a bunch of people out there watching, it'll start to kick up real hard and real fast. That's right. It knows that if people actually care about it, that it'll give in that energy and it'll show you who and what it is. You got intelligences right there. You got people sitting right in front of you that you're not even aware of. These are people. May not seem that way to you. A lot of people ignore this stuff and they think that it's just, foliage, trees, whatever. That's not quite true. As you see, it can react and it knows exactly what I'm talking about. It knows English. As a matter of fact, it knows every single language that's ever been on this planet and hears us talk all the time, and they constantly communicate with each other across world lines. That's right. Not only across world lines, okay, but these trees here that are right here, they can communicate with trees in Japan. They can communicate with trees in Russia. Okay? That's antenna sitting right in front of you. And that antenna has a lot of personality. Okay? And so, I'm going to tell you this. I've gotten to know these guys, and I've gotten to know trees in general, and they are some of the most beautiful souls you will ever meet. These souls came here to do a job, and we chopped them down en masse, and there's no to be quite honest, I was about to say there's no reason to do such things, but the fact of the matter is there's beings out there who are responsible for the corporations that know exactly what they're doing when they're chopping these things down. Okay? This stuff is intelligence. You saw it react when I was talking about it. That was its choice. This stuff doesn't have to move. It doesn't even have to have a wind going through it. They create their own wind. They're Aerokinesis experts. They're the reasons why my stuff shows through so well, to be quite honest. Okay? Because they don't have to show anything that I do whatsoever. I want you to notice, I hope you heard the horn honk right before this stuff started moving when I put my hands up. This place sitting there reacting, sitting there saying, yeah, it doesn't have to respond. I realize that I'm in a collaboration and a cooperation when it comes to moving energy. I have no illusions that I'm some sort of a god who's doing this. Not at all. I realize I'm a small fry in a big, huge place. And this big, huge place has an intelligence of its own. It would behoove you to be very aware of that. And this intelligence is quite patient. Oddly enough, I mean, it's really, really patient. And it's waiting for one day when human beings will learn a little bit or enough about themselves to where they're not constantly, raping the planet. But one day, and I'm going to be very clear on this because it's already starting to happen. This place will have to defend itself if the fleas that are on the dog can't learn how to take care of themselves and the dog. See what I'm saying? So it's very important that people understand that. Remember, intelligence. Notice, this stuff wasn't moving nearly as much as that. Now that I'm pointing to this stuff, it's moving. Take a look. some sort of a mutual respect thing is going to have to happen soon, especially with the way that people treat the animals on this planet as well. Because it's not just the trees, it's not just the vegetation, it's not just the oil spills or the poison. It's mass consumption of our brethren on this planet, and you will be shocked. And all that stuff that they keep finding, okay, there's all sorts of human DNA being found and stuff now. There's no accident to that. There's all sorts of stuff being found in the GMO foods. See, one day, they're just going to be feeding us back to ourselves if they're not doing it already. Passing certain meats off, because let me tell you something. They've developed meats in labs, all right? I want you to keep that in mind. Keep axing off our fellow brethren like this on the planet. Eventually it comes back to us, and then they do have to feed us to each other. Okay, because not that there's that much scarcity on the planet, because there's enough of the planet and there's enough stuff out here to where people were awake and aware enough, they'd be able to self-sustain. But people are not awake nor aware enough, and they are quite dependent upon the government to feed them and to take care of them and to keep them protected and to make them feel safe from all threats. Want a government deciding everything that you guys do? Now, me, I don't much believe anymore in the conspiracy stuff. I know that there's a tyrannical government, but that tyrannical government is completely enabled by the tyrannical people. Anytime they want to send you guys to war, all they have to do is say weapons of mass destruction. And dictator attacks his own people, and you fall for it every time. Doesn't matter how many times you find out it's a lie. So, it can't just be the tyrannical government. They're just providing for a populace. Let's see, if we think about America, we represent 3% of the world's population, and yet we're consuming about 80% of the world's resources. Wow. 3% of the world's population consuming roughly 80% of the world's resources. It's a big number. China, look at their population, huge. They got some consumption on them, but they don't consume nearly as much as Americans do. Americans are able to afford being able to dump water on their heads for challenges. Water and ice. Man, there's Africans out there that would die for a drop of that water. But Americans, yep, they've they've got it to the point where it just runs freely from the faucet. Bathe in it whenever you want. Swim in it whenever you want. Lots of people out here got swimming pools in America. Certainly do. Yeah, there's plenty of people that would like to drink that chlorinated water that we just swim in. Usually they're drinking in polluted water that our factories that we own in overseas areas have dumped in. So this particular segment of Aerokinesis isn't necessarily about Aerokinesis. This is a rant and rave about how we treat our world. This stuff here is just in on talking about it too. Because this is the stuff you're dumping on. Right here. Like I said, it's got a personality. It's got an intelligence. Definitely not stupid. A lot smarter than people are because it's getting its, well, it's feeding itself from the sun. That's pure intelligence too. The sun that projects this reality. Well, there's a lot of things that project this reality because there's streams that happen with all of the stars out there. Everything out there is doing its job to project this reality right here within our solar system. The reason why it's self-contained. Okay? As I do this little spiral, watch what happens. Self-contained, right? Actually, it needs to go back this way. Either way. So, I guess I'm going to conclude this by saying you better learn to take care of this world fast, and you better learn to get in harmony fast. That's what Evolve Ministry is for. Okay, because some changes are coming, which is the reason why the Earth is going through the changes that it's going through right now. It's reconfiguring. And once it gets completely reconfigured, okay, so it's just going through certain portions of that reconfigurement right now. Okay? Once this place gets completely reconfigured, you know, it's going to shed off a lot of stuff. I can tell you that right now. So it's going through massive changes. And if you're not ready for those massive changes, you have not evolved yourself to that point where you are in harmony with the intelligence that runs this, it'll shed you off. It will. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. A lot of the storms that have been out there have been helped by mankind. And I can tell you this. Hurricane Katrina was a sample. A sample. And a lot of those people found out that they got shed off pretty quickly. So be aware. It's one of the reasons why you do want to develop yourself and be in harmony with your system. We're in harmony with the animals. We're in harmony with nature. We're in harmony with the quote-unquote elements. We're not controlling any of them. I've always said this from day one. You're controlling you. You. You're controlling your energy system, and this stuff can decide whether it wants to move with your wave or not. According to it, it can create its own wave anytime. It doesn't need you. It doesn't need me. It doesn't need any of us. The fact that we're here is kind of a perk. All right. Love you guys. Thank you so much for your cooperation and definitely your word in on things. I'm telling you, this isn't a joke, so be aware. See it?